They have Build-A-Bear possums? Why was I not aware of this?
Literally 10 seconds before that, Margaret was like, okay, you're talking first, right?
Oh, hush.
I think you know... I think
you'll find!
I think you remembered how to do this.
Okay, fine.
Hi,
Hello,
how are you?
everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to the stream. Yes, it's been a week because I had the audacity to not have my Kryptonian senses and I got sick, which sucked.
But you're better now.
I got better.
You got better?
I got better, yes. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you're doing okay. We have amazing interview guests tonight,
So
and so we're
excited.
going to cut to the introduction here pretty quickly, but just one little general note. The world is a bonfire, and we don't want to talk about it, okay? We know American politics are a nightmare. We know UK elections are being held tomorrow, and therefore tomorrow we will all be hostage to the ongoing nightmare of UK politics. But tonight, we're just going to talk about nice, calm, relaxing, existential horror. Okay? You know, the nice things. The nice things like trapdoors and doggy politics and so many other things. Yes, politics, derogatory is very much the word of the day. So just as a reminder, we are not like mental health experts and we are not political scholars. So let's kind of just leave all of that to the side.
For those of you familiar with it, very much playing through my mind this week has been the Mitchell and Webb post-apocalyptic quiz show sketch, where there are repeated references to the event and how you must not think of the event. Yes.
Now all anybody's going to think about is the event, because that's what you brought up.
That was the
Anyway. The joke. Okay. Look, Katie B's talking about a playpen for her cat. That sounds like amazing. A lot more fun. Why don't you introduce our amazing guest for tonight? Because I want to talk about things.
I
have so many things.
I think you should.
No.
Yes.
You said you were going to talk first.
No, you said I was going to talk first.
Yes.
Go. You go.
Oh my God, he's going to be like this tonight. Okay. All right. So we are very, very fortunate to have joining us this evening Abby Howard and Tony Howard-Arias, the amazing creators of SCARLET HOLLOW, i.e. Black Tabby games, not Black Cat games. I keep wanting to say Black Cat games, but it's Black Tabby Cat Tabby games. It's a wonderful portmanteau, and I keep stepping all over it, and I apologize. So we are going to talk about all things SCARLET HOLLOW and all their upcoming projects, and I'm very excited.
It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. Should we put our headphones on?
Let's do this now. Let's just do this now.
Exactly. And they were very polite. They didn't even make funny faces at us while we were doing the introduction. I mean, talk about professionals. Totes profesh, right? Didn't make funny faces or anything.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
How you doing? Yeah, they'll know for next time.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Okay, first of all, how dare? We have so many things to talk about. We have obviously... see, unrepentant he-he-he-he-he's are starting off quite well. This is amazing.
So where do you want to start?
Oh my God, where don't I want to start?
Can we talk doggy politics?
Oh, see, all we've been talking about today and getting ready for this interview is like, when is the dog election mini game gonna start? When do I get to start designing Obama hope posters for Gretchen? You know?
Now, I won't give too many spoilers, but there is a little bit more info in episode 4 about the dog politics in town.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Perhaps you meet some of the other candidates for the last election, perhaps.
Ooh, there might be bad blood. Are they talking about
a little bad blood?
There's a little bad blood.
Perhaps. We can't go too far into it. Spoilers for SCARLET HOLLOW episode 4, Dog Elections.
Yay!
Dogs are in it.
See, that's all
There's
I'm
dogs.
looking
There's
for.
dogs in our game.
Dogs in our
Spoiler
game.
alert.
Yes.
Look out.
Or as we were referring to earlier today, the dog wing. The West Dog.
The West Dog.
Yes.
Exactly. You know,
Let's walk and
controversial.
talk, they say, and hand you a leash.
Yes.
With their little
Right?
mouth.
Exactly.
Walkies and talkies.
Walk
Walkies and talkies! I love that. I love that idea so much. First of all, okay, tell me about the plant shelf, because I'm in love with the plant shelf.
Yeah, me too.
You.
Thank you for asking about my plants.
All right,
Please,
I'll
please.
scooch a little bit.
All
This
right.
is my plant shelf. It has plants on it. I'm trying desperately to keep them alive through Canadian winters, so the mist you might be seeing is the humidifier I have running at all times. I've got some lovely
Oh,
begonias
that's
that I'm
so
trying to
cool.
They're
keep alive. They're
gorgeous.
doing really well. Some cane begonias that I like a lot. I have a Hoya compacta. Hold on, let me get...
Oh, you want to bring the gnome over?
Oh,
So
bring
we
it on,
have-
yes.
We have this kind of running gag on the stream where Alasdair will trail upcoming news where he says his
I
favorites.
lost at poker recently, which means I have to be the keeper of this gnome. Yes,
That-
it looks like that.
That is its own punishment.
That
Yes.
gnome is
Yes.
coquettish.
He lives on the plant shelf for the time being.
Yes.
Oh, he's sticky for some reason.
Oh!
All the humidity.
Oh!
I'm putting him
He's
down.
sweating.
He's gonna disappear when I turn my back on him. I just know.
Oh no.
So I'm
yeah,
play.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
playing Outer Wilds right now on Sunday morning. So now all I'm thinking about is like the quantum rock. You look away and then it's gone and it's somewhere else, and then you look away and it's come
The
back.
quantum gnome.
The quantum gnome. How did you? Wait a minute. Is this like a tradition? You lose at poker and therefore you have to become the gnome parent?
Yes, I am the keeper of the gnome.
It's a tradition that was invented at our last poker night.
I am the first unfortunate keeper of the gnome.
So how quickly will you be having a new poker game to?
I mean, it's been a couple months,
But
right?
Queen-
Yes, it's been too long. This horrible gnome has cursed my shelf.
It looks great.
It does.
I'm
It's a
surprised you
conversation
haven't turned
starter.
it into a planter yet and put a plant in it.
Gotta put it in the butt.
Oh.
I'm so glad you said that because
I'm like-
I was literally trying to work out how to say that.
Oh my gosh, that sounds. So you guys live in Canada? I thought that was not where I was associating you with for some reason.
We were in Boston a year ago.
And
Oh.
I'm from North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and Tony's from New Jersey, so we have a lot of different places that make up who we are as people.
What do you want to talk about the move to Canada?
It was hard because we did it during COVID, so
Oh yeah.
every single step of the process was so much more difficult.
It's,
But we're here now.
Yeah.
That
It's-
happened last August, I think.
hmm
So, yeah, it was quite an ordeal.
It's a good place to do video game stuff.
I was gonna
There's
say.
a lot of provincial level government support and grants for the arts.
Yeah, and I went to school in Canada. I went
Okay.
to McGill,
Wow.
so I have a lot of friends from up here who live in Toronto. They're wonderful.
I mean, you're wearing the Canadian tuxedo right now, so you know you're
Indeed,
formally dressed for
Missing
this
the
evening.
denim part.
I don't have the two different pieces of
Do you
denim.
want me to grab you some?
Two or more. No, thank you.
At a moment's notice, I was just expecting you to whip out like a denim handkerchief. I'm prepared.
Canadian way.
I have a friend who lived in Kamloops for a long time, and she used to measure how the seasons were changing by how many hoodies she had to wear to leave the house. So, you know, as the weather got better, I'd get this email going, "Oh, it's going really well. Why? I only had to wear one today."
Yeah, that's good weather. It's
Honestly,
still winter
one
here.
hoodie is kind of the ideal temperature for me.
I'm right there with you.
Like a nice fall crisp in
Like,
there. It's good
T-shirt
stuff.
weather is often way too hot.
Yeah, when I lived in
Sticky.
Montreal for McGill, it would get down to -40, which is both Fahrenheit and Celsius.
Yes, it
because That's
is.
where they meet up.
Yes.
I learned that because it was -40 outside. So,
You're like, this is a fact of which I am uncomfortably aware.
Two scientific
my
measurement
nose
systems
hairs have frozen in the wind.
uniting.
My eyes hurt from being almost frozen.
I just have this image of Mr. Fahrenheit and Mr. Celsius both pointing at the thermometer going, "This is bad."
Cold.
Cold.
Look, cold. We officially
We
agree.
agree.
Does
Cold.
it feel cold at that point?
It feels like the wind is daggers. Like the
I
air
feel-
is daggers. You don't
I
even
feel
need
like
wind.
there was one day in college where I had to walk somewhere and it was -10 Fahrenheit with wind chill, and that was just unbearable. I can't even imagine. Like, that was
Like,
wanna
your skin
pass
just-
out and die in the middle of the street cold.
Your skin just like shuts down and it's
Yeah.
like, no, you don't have to feel this. It's okay. You'll
No.
probably be dead soon anyway.
just let it go. Whatever it was you were thinking about, just keep having happy thoughts as you slowly freeze into a popsicle.
Welcome to the show, everyone.
Well, it's fascinating to me because one of the things we really wanted to talk about this time with you is, and we talked about it a little bit on Twitter, is the combination of horror and humor. And that this is exactly what our conversation has become. It's like, look at this horrible thing. Let's laugh about it. And I mean, Alasdair hosts a horror podcast, and so he talks about kind of the mechanics of horror a lot, what makes it work, what makes it not work. And I always think of horror and humor as peanut butter and chocolate. They are that kind of perfect pairing where one tastes or you experience one more pure is kind of a bad choice of term, but you experience one more intensely for the contrast of the other one being present. And I think modern horror movies, especially in the last couple of years, have done a really good job of playing into that. I mean, Cabin in the Woods, Tucker and Dale, there's lots of more comedic horror out there where they really like to play with that concept. And you've done it with Scarlet Hollow as well. There are moments in that game that are hilarious. And then there are other moments of that game where I was literally like trying to hide behind my clothing as things was occurring because it was scary. It was horror.
The first shift to the animated photos in episode 3. I think I actually went, and just the way that you use a medium shift to go, this reality's broken. Get comfy.
Busted. Oh no.
Get comfy or not. That's just an astonishing beat. And one of the things to pick up on what Marguerite was saying that has fascinated me is the tone shift really does seem to alter depending on what attributes you choose. I'm very aware the game is much funnier because we can talk to animals. Mm-hmm. And I'd be really interested to do a playthrough without that. We were discussing what I think did I call it the Dr. Dolittle himbo build earlier, where you go for
I can't remember what it was. It was like the hunk himbo or something.
Yeah, the hot and powerful build one.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we were talking about, favorite moments of the playthrough we've been doing on Twitch. It's like, but you wouldn't know that because you couldn't talk to that particular animal. We've already touched on like 4 points here, but like the other point that I thought of when I was preparing for this is you spend a lot of time talking publicly about how you're adjusting your stats, like looking at how people are using their playthrough data and making kind of on the fly decisions about, look, this needs tweaking, this needs buffing. Now most contemporary video game players have that experience from MMOs or, games where there is that expectation that they are constantly evolving. I guess the question I always have for those sorts of scenarios is like, how do you wade through all of that data and all of that feedback? And how is it that you pick, look, this is important, we want to address that, versus, but this is what we wanted to do, and so even though that contrasts, we're going to leave it aside. So I've just asked you like 7 questions there in the last 3 minutes. So dig in, pick something.
Going through stuff in order. Before we get too far away with it, with the differences in tone based on trait selection.
Yeah.
On top of Talk to Animals, one that's super interesting, especially in episode 3, is if you've played the game with a combination of powerful build and keen eye, which is the combo that avoids anything bad actually happening in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So the tone of the story, it feels very different. Stella feels very different as a character because her ignorance to danger is a little more justified by what's happened. You keep having these almost like Saturday morning cartoon level brushes with death where everyone's fine. Why would she start struggling? So it makes a lot of the characters come across differently.
So it's more of like I would characterize that as the Scooby-Doo playthrough.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Of course,
You're the Fred in this scenario or something.
Now that we're on a 3rd episode and you can't have 3 traits, like, that ball drops completely regardless. Mm-hmm. At least one truly terrible thing has happened at this point, so at least there's going to be some tonal consistency moving forward, even if what people have to reference is different from playthrough to playthrough.
And Mystical and Booksmart also have some interesting stuff at the end of episode 3.
We just finished episode 3, and one of the things I love about playing the game live is that people in our chat have played it themselves other ways, and so we will see a kind of a running dialogue of, ooh, you know, if you had this trait, that you might have learned this little tidbit, or especially since we play very slowly because we like to like unpick things and talk about our theories as they evolve and as the experiences are going on. So being able to have a moment where you're like, I don't feel like I got enough information here. And then somebody in the chat will go, yeah, but I played it with this trait and I got this piece of information. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I like that experience. And I like, have you done, how many different combinations of traits are there?
21.
So that you can
7 and you can select 2.
Yeah.
So you can do 21 different playthroughs of the game. Okay. That's going to take
that's of course also ignoring the variations within those 21 combinations.
Yeah, like when you
Because
decide
you're going to have like 5 major decisions where you have at least 2 options within each of those.
I have never agonized over who to have breakfast with more.
Yeah,
than at the
seriously.
Top of episode 3.
It was like, oh my gosh, I only get one person to talk with. But I want to talk to all of them. Yeah.
I think half of our players did Tabitha's. That sounds right.
Yeah.
It's like their canon run.
Really?
A lot of people want to warm up to their cousin.
A lot of people really want their cousin to like them.
It's a challenge you're presented with, I suppose. Gosh, there's so much, like, kind of talking about the data part, there's so much that you just don't know until people actually play it. That's why watching people play it is actually super, super useful. Because seeing how people talk through kind of the stuff that they're looking at in front of them, that is the most useful data that we can collect.
Yeah, like there's very much a mix of qualitative and quantitative work there. So we put out surveys to get just a core breakdown of here's the pick rate for every trade. And actually, let me pull up
so
the most recent survey results.
You say canon run. So is there like the analogy I'm thinking of here is Dragon Age, where like you have to make a decision about who lives and who dies at the end of the first Dragon Age game. And like that's called a particular canonical decision, and it's very unusual for BioWare to force a character into a canonical decision that they themselves carry forward. So is there like the canonical position for you for the game?
I would
like
describe this as a personal headcanon.
Okay.
In terms of how we survey people.
We definitely have no.
Right? If you play the game 5 times, let's just throw that number. If you play the game
randomly,
5 times,
let's say,
which of your playthroughs do you consider to be the real one versus the others where you feel like they're alternate realities?
It's always the first one, right?
For some people, it's the first one. For some, it's they make their choice after they've gone through every possible world state they can, and they have picked what they deem to be either the most satisfying story or the happiest one, or sometimes the saddest.
See, I would love to be able to do that. But for me, so much of the ownership of the experience of playing this games is that first emotional response to the different situations, which is why I adore Garrus desperately in Mass Effect, but I will always romance Thane because I can't not.
Love that guy.
Thane's the best!
I love him.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Was I jealous when I didn't get to tango with Garrus? Of course I was. But have you heard Thane? Thank you. Exactly. So it's interesting to me that people form that particular like headcanon view so much differently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like my personal like canonical Mass Effect run was probably like the third playthrough of the series I did. Once I like really knew who I wanted to roleplay. I think that was the one where I went through the whole game really leaning into a shepherd who has like extreme PTSD.
Wow.
It was fun. I had a great time.
A horrible. I had so much fun with the character creator, Tony.
Oh, you always do that. Yeah.
I was just like, I can't believe you're going to play the game as this monstrosity
Monster Factory every single game with a character.
See, like
Beautiful.
every time I play a game, the first session is, okay, all I'm going to do is build a character because this is going to take me
This
forever.
will be the next
I have
3
to
hours, yes.
agonize through all the decisions and see what it looks like. Like, I dumped a 10-hour DAI run because I'm like, I cannot stand the reflection off those cheekbones. We have to start again. I'm sorry.
That character creator is one of the most misleading ones because the lighting is
Because
so
the
much
lighting's
different
so
than the rest of
crap.
the
They
game.
start you in a dungeon and then you get up into the real world, world and you're like, excuse me? I'm regretting my life choices.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Tony's pulled up data.
Oh, yeah, do it.
yeah.
Right.
If
Tell
there's
us.
any breakdowns you're curious about, I can share them right now.
What is the ratio of people who talk to animals? Like, because
Okay, talk to animals is our second most popular trait.
what's the first?
Keen eye.
See?
Knows this.
All of those good Call of Cthulhu,
Call of Cthulhu
players,
players
I need my
represent.
spot hidden, right?
hidden
Exactly.
Yeah,
Where
so
are you?
keen eye, 44.7% of people take it, and talk to animals, 40.9% take it.
Okay,
I
so
love that.
Close. Then we've got mystical, book smart, hot, street smart, and powerful build, the least popular.
Well, I don't know. There's kind of 3 tiers right now. Like, talk to animals and keen eye are within a few percentage points of each other. Mystical and book smart are practically tied at 30%, which is why book smart was by far the least popular last time around. But
see, you really had to talk me into it because we were very much, I think, on the fence
Yeah.
between Keen Eye and Booksmart. Those are the two that we debated the most. Our chat was very passionate that we needed to talk to animals because some people had played through the first chapter already and we didn't want to have a certain experience occur, and so we were very happy to take that choice as well. And honestly, I think it's my favorite because I love Gretchen so much.
She is the greatest potato dog in the world.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
I'm so happy. Yeah,
No.
that trait is so much fun.
it is.
Just whenever an animal shows up, I'm like, oh.
It's both the easiest and the hardest trait to write, I feel.
I feel like the hardest part of writing it for me is trying to make it, especially in episode 4. Now I'm kind of trying to make it so that talk to animals players simply have more options to go off and talk to the animals instead of just kind of a non-talk to animals player is presented with an animal in front of them. It's strange. And you
Remember,
just
this
talk to
animal
it.
is here.
This
Do you
animal's
remember one
here.
of the traits at character creation?
Better play
Maybe
again.
you should play again.
So I don't want that to be like the experience. So I'm trying
Yeah.
to kind of, do you want to go to a place where you probably think there might be an animal? Just hinting, in case you want to do it. Talk to animals trait. You are the only one who gets this.
Yeah.
Just as a hint. Anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it was extra weird in episode 1 because this was a Kickstarter stretch goal.
Right.
Episode 1 was already done and out by the time the Kickstarter started. So we had to go back in and retroactively slot it into everything.
Wow.
Yeah. And Gretchen is actually, in the base sprites, fused to Stella. They're one sprite together, so we couldn't have her move independently of Stella. We have since fixed that with other sprite sets, where she is a
so
removable
tired.
item, and then I have to draw a different version of Stella's arm.
I personally am looking forward to the paper doll selection that
Yes.
we will have available someday, that we can, just give me Kanika's wardrobe as paper dolls,
Oh.
please. That would be
Oh, yeah.
freaking amazing.
Her outfit this episode is going to be very nice,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Sweet.
Going back to your comment about writing the animals, one of the things that really popped for me in episode 3 was how none of them present as a generic talking animal. You actually get a really strong sense of the different cultures of each species you talk to. And I love that. I love that the possums are kind of jerks, but oddly principled, weirdly pragmatic jerks. I love that the 2 cats just hate, and it's not personal. They hate everybody, and it's just what they do. And I love the incredibly intricate, complex political power structures of the dogs, and the fact that you get that moment where if you have talks to animals, Gretchen gets to have the big speech at the top of Act 3 of every Sidney Lumet movie. except it's coming from a pug, which is just unbelievably cool.
Thank you.
We have a question in the chat that relates to the animals, if you don't mind if I ask.
Yeah, go for it.
I know some of the animals are based on pets that the two of you have had. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about how you came up with like the voice, the character, the motivations for Frou-Frou.
So Frou-Frou was
French.
Frou-Frou is French because I actually adopted my cat Spoons, who is nothing like Frou-Frou. But I adopted her in French Canada, and her original name was Frou-Frou at the shelter. And I was just like, well, I'm getting rid of that. Her name is Spoons now. A normal name for a cat. Anyway, so we call her Frou-Frou sometimes. And I like black and white cats, so I drew one into the game, and it was like, well, we can make this into the version of Spoons that was raised in French Canada, I suppose, but wants to pretend she's from France. So that's Frou-Frou.
It was just funny.
It was funny.
It was just funny to make her
an actual French cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like so. Do the animals fill like specific like character needs in the story, or is just this is cool? I'm doing this.
I think just joke needs for the most part.
Yeah.
It was funny for Gretchen to be a
Southern Belle, of course. Yeah. That one was just instant. As soon as we were like, well, we need a voice for Gretchen, it's like, well, of course she's going to be like Scarlet Lady from
O'Hara.
Gone with the Wind. Yes.
There you go. Alasdair's turned her into Ethel Merman, which I think is adorable.
It's so interesting. I love it. Yeah.
And possums were also just
that's just how
funny.
I feel. I just feel in my heart that that's what
Little
possums
gremlin.
would sound like.
Little
They're
gremlin
like
that
little
lives in your
cavemen.
dresser. Yeah.
I think of them as trash can Klingons.
That's them. They're perfect. I love them. Yeah. Especially, I love writing Dustin's mom.
Oh, yeah.
The cruelty
Lies.
of nature, but spoken by like a caveman. Pixel is based on a real cat that a Kickstarter backer had put in the game. So
that's
his personality
adorable.
is based on that cat.
A Tuckerism. I love that. That's fantastic.
That's absolutely adorable. I love that.
The mayor, another Kickstarter backer, but that one was my dad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
The dog,
And then
Jimmy.
based...
where the one piece of information we had was Jimmy wore clothes.
I gave him a hat, a little tie.
Yeah,
I
So,
love it.
great.
Yeah. And
We knew we wanted the mayor to be a dog from
the get-go.
day one.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the old Kickstarter page, there's an unfulfilled stretch goal for a secret party member. That's like clearly a dog in a top hat, and that was from
I
the
love
the
mayor.
dog mayor. Now he doesn't get to be a party member. So
No.
I
Mayor
made him
Jimmy the
mayor.
Betrayer, according to our chat.
The whole
Jimmy.
of portraits.
I find it so fascinating how torn the community is on Mayor Jimmy, because there's a lot of people who are like, oh wow, this dog's talking sense. He cares about the economy. That's
He's
really smart for
The
the
mayor
dog.
from Jaws.
What a good mayor.
Right?
He's the mayor from Jaws.
He's
Exactly.
just the mayor from Jaws.
I love it.
The
Obviously,
whole
we need a
of-
re-election campaign. I need to be passionately involved with
Of
this
course.
dog re-election campaign.
the whole of portraits of the dog mayors.
I know. It
I
was
mean,
so sweet.
I love all the visuals, but the moment I realised that we were literally standing in a room full of professional portraits of dog mayors, I just, for a split second, instead of going, I would never live here, I went, I could live here. I could live in this room.
I could live in this room. It would be fine. It would be good. Yes.
Just hold up there. Maybe nothing bad will happen.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. Yes. Nothing bad would ever happen.
I wanted to circle back around to your point about how with one particular build, Stella presents very differently, because one of the things which I love about horror is when the gear shifts. And the moment at the end of 3,
Which one?
we'll get to the others. The moment where Stella, who has been this ray of sunshine for 3 full episodes of this game, can't look at you and is so consumed with guilt and horror. And
She's consumed with something. I don't know what it is yet, and it's driving at me.
And she's just the way that the way I talked about it was performance. The art and the writing in this game has a level of physical performance to it, which I've never seen before.
No, seriously. The things that you accomplish with just eye animations, or the
Yeah.
fact that you'll take those stills and the sprites will alter oh so slightly, but in such emotive ways, is incredibly impressive. Like, I think we had like a 10-minute long conversation about, oh my gosh, is that the same? No, look at her eyes. She's changed. Her hand is different. It's you accomplish so much emotional depth with still images, a finite selection of still images. And obviously some part of that has got to be, well, you can't draw everything. I mean, you have physical human hands. And I'm sure you need to eat and sleep at times. There are technical limitations to the art. But how much you accomplish with that combined with the writing is truly staggering.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It
Y'all
means
are
a
so
lot.
kind. Thank you.
There is a lot of art.
Yeah, there's a lot of art.
I can only imagine.
Especially we change their outfits every day.
Yeah, there's 3,500 sprites so far.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
But we
that's
care
life.
about it.
We care so much. Yeah,
That-
and a lot of that is Tony just kind of reading the lines.
I move the little puppets.
Yeah, Tony
Move
moves the little puppets
tens
around.
of thousands of times an episode.
Yep.
Digital or physical? What
What's
medium? So you're actually working as an animator as well as everything else with the sprite.
So they're
digital
metaphorically. They,
Yeah,
I was gonna
the
say.
puppets are PNGs, but they are effectively puppets that I keep going in and being like, now it changes to this one. Now it changes to this one.
I did draw them by hand.
Yeah.
That is
But the color's digital. So.
that's fascinating.
Yeah,
And
I use, oh, I'm so sorry.
No, please,
No,
please,
please
please,
do.
please.
I use tracing paper, so I start with like a base sprite, and then I use tracing paper over top to just kind of get all of the different poses for one, and all the different expressions. So, like the animators used to do.
Yeah. And then they're digitized at that
Yes,
point.
and then I scan them and I color them in, and I kind of do all of the copy pasting I have to do to make the puppets work.
I find
See,
that
I don't. You're talking about them as puppets, and I played chapter 3, and I'm kind of like, no puppets.
I find that incredibly reassuring. The fact that you think of it, you describe it as puppeteering almost, because I think that speaks to just how good the game is. There's an incredible depth of art and skill at every level of this thing, and I think some of it perhaps comes from that crossover, from the fact that you work by hand, that the sprites are moved by hand. This feels incredibly personal, and you can tell that you're both pouring your hearts into it, and it absolutely works, folks. It is an extraordinary narrative experience to play through.
And I think the other strength that having the still images gives is its negative space. You're not trying to convey every precise emotion that you want your audience
Yes.
to engage with. The nice thing about those blank canvases of those still images is the same principle as people listening to prose. You're filling in the details. You're digesting that, and you're forming your own experiences by filling in the gaps that the medium itself isn't doing. I think one of the most powerful one of the things that I find is really powerful about the game is that it is not there's no voice acting. It is still and text. First of all, it lets hams like us have a very fertile playground, which we greatly appreciate. But secondly, it allows that personalization and that like artistic. I mean, it allows that fandom experience of, well, this is what my canon Stella sounds like, or this is, how I interpreted the emphasis on that line, which gives it this emotional beat, which makes it so much more resonant for me. It becomes a cooperative creation in that you're literally setting up all these breadcrumbs and all these tableaus, and I'm not going to be able to get away from the puppet analogy now and all these backdrops and everything. But people feel like they have this tremendous participation in the overall creation of the project. Do you find that with your fan communities? Because we know that can be a positive thing, and we know that can also be kind of a negative thing. People can become overly invested or possessive of a narrative that they feel that they have had a particular experience with.
Yeah, it's definitely something where that is one of the huge reasons why we're not going to be doing voice acting, besides the fact that
it would be so expensive. With
no kidding.
The first 3 episodes are just under 400,000 words.
It's
so
total The Lord of the Rings, all of the books. So
right now,
that's what it is right now, episode 3. Yeah.
By the time it's done, it will be 2 infinite jests in length.
Yeah.
I
So
love
that's a
that
lot
you
of
use
money.
that as your metric. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a frame of reference.
One of the things that's actually a huge boon to not having voice acting too is that when we're going through a lot of the kind of more emotionally vulnerable, potentially emotionally vulnerable conversations in the game at this point, we're able to look at all of the relationship metrics that we track over a playthrough, and we can then go in and sometimes we change lines of dialogue, but there's a lot of times where we'll have a single line of dialogue and just based on your relationship, it'll have a different sprite associated with it.
Conveys a totally different emotion.
It conveys a completely different emotion. I feel like this is the biggest case with Tabitha.
Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, you can like be pretty chummy with her in episode 3.
It's
as chummy as she's
very
letting,
chummy
like,
by
she's
her
warming up to
standards.
you.
Yeah.
But you can also have a terrible relationship with her and decide to hang out with her anyway. And then, for one thing, you get different music, which sets a very different tone. And she's just terrible to you and shuts down everything. But some of them are the same lines, but with a sour face instead of like a slight smile or kind of like a sad face. So. Yeah, that is kind of the acting that we do with the little puppets that we have.
And then you're pairing that with the music and slight modifications and dialogue. So you literally are creating whole different emotional responsive situations without having to have voice actors do all of that in advance as well.
Yeah, otherwise there'd be a few lines where I don't have the code in front of me. The laptop's in my other room, but there would be a few lines where it's like, yeah, here's a 2-sentence thing. Read this like wistfully, read it mournfully,
exactly.
Read it coldly, read it warmly, and
we'd have to keep
then storing all of that, and both in terms of the logistics of organizing it and our game's a visual novel and it's already like over 3 gigabytes on your hard drive. I can't imagine just how chonky it would get.
Yeah.
And I think Stella has kind of similar things in a different direction because at this point there can be a little bit of like if you push back on her a little bit more and are mean to her, which no one does. No
one's mean to Stella. How dare!
We can't bring ourselves to do it most of the time. But then she can be pretty, I'd say,
pretty abrasive
and pretty standoffish and kind of like the way that she tries to smooth things over becomes a lot more apparent because for most people, she's just going to seem cheerful and peppy and okay all the time. But it's revealed kind of if you decide to not be friends with Stella and be kind of a jerk to her or, you know,
or the more reasonable middle ground of, hey, your behavior isn't in line with everything that's happened. Do you need to talk? What's going on?
It's a really serious...
This isn't a good coping mechanism.
I can tell what you're doing. You're just kind of pretending none of it's happening. And then she's just like, I don't know what you mean. So,
Aww.
Yeah, she kind of shuts down a little bit more.
We're in danger, but we could be in more danger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then it kind of, the way that transitions into how she winds up at the end of episode 3 is a lot different because either it's that, you know, you have powerful build and keen eye and things have been great and your relationship with her is so sunshine and rainbows and then she suddenly kind of falls down a cliff, or she's been gradually falling down the cliff, down like a rolling slope this whole time.
Like, regardless of what happens, even outside the context of the events of the game, Stella is very much a person who is not okay and pretends that she is.
Yeah.
And
she
episode 3 is always the tipping point, but how that tipping point is approached can be very different.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of builds, so the way you described the strong and keen eye and like the first 2 chapters are like easy mode. You can circumnavigate some of the more powerful decisions. Okay. I'm a Paragon player. I can't not make the nice decisions. There have been times where I've reloaded games and apologized to the video game characters because I made them do something mean. But there are so many wonderful asshole options in this game. Can you be we had the question in the chat, can you just be a jerk the whole time? Does it get you anywhere? Will anybody ever speak to you ever again? Is it just you alone at the end?
How
we
it
can't
affects...
speak too much to future
well, yeah, obviously.
Episode 7. So you could definitely have a very small amount of people with you at the ghost hunt, like and that sort of thing. So it affects it in that way.
Minimum is like 5 people or something.
Yeah, just kind of the people who live there.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Oh gosh!
Stella
wow.
was just like, we're friends.
Is there anybody who didn't come with us on the ghost hunt?
We actually got the full house achievement.
I think we got the full house.
Yeah.
We're friends with everybody.
Well, yeah.
It
Paragon! Yeah, exactly.
And I something that's important to us from a game design perspective is that a lot of times the asshole options are there because they're funny. Like, even if you don't click it, just seeing that on the list is its own joke.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of more meaningful trade-offs where there isn't really a Paragon option. There's these people are at odds with each other. They both have very good personal reasons, at least in their own minds, for why they're at odds. There is no like neo-lib centrist approach of
let's all just get along.
Let's all just magic this together. Let's not fight.
Yeah, like Kanika and Tabitha are not going to get along.
Period.
Yeah.
Like, for good reason, on both of their ends.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also a very realistic viewpoint, and that it's possible to make all the right decisions and still fail. You know,
Right.
Life is rarely the we know which buttons to click and everybody magically gets along at the end sort of option. There are consequences for decisions like that. And one of my biggest fears right now, to be honest, towards the end of the game, is that I'm going to realize that I wasn't strident with people who needed to be to have someone be strident with them, and that is the consequence I'm going to pay when I get to the end of the game, is that I was this person's friend instead of being, a push that this person needed. So,
Yeah. And that's definitely the case for some characters.
oh great! I'm doomed. I'm doomed. I'm doomed.
Fine.
I'm gonna fail the suicide mission. I'm doomed.
There won't really be a failable suicide mission.
My God.
But
they're...
like Tabitha, for instance, in the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
She
she's the example.
responds very, very poorly to people just being surface level nice to her. Really poorly to it, because it feels fake and she thinks that people have ulterior motives.
Yeah.
And part of the reason she's set up that way as a character, aside from we think it's a psychologically interesting character, is to fight that urge that a lot of like exclusively Paragon players have to search for the button that sounds like it would make everyone happy.
Right.
Yeah, search for the nicest button.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't have the nicest button. We have here's what somebody might say buttons, and then characters react in different ways.
And likewise, if you're just too surface level nice to Stella, that like pushes her a little deeper into the stuff she has going on.
Into the defense mechanism she's carefully erected around her life. Yes.
Yep. And this goes also for the decisions, of course. Like, we try very hard to make them even. There's going to be at least one that isn't, but...
Right. Oh, there's... For the most part, we're trying to make them complicated.
Yeah, we want to make sure
difficult.
That all of them have consequences.
There's
except for if you're you have a special trait that means you're good at this thing. And we've definitely had some folks be like, what if I could, I don't know, argue with the ghost anyway? even though I don't have Booksmart. And it's like, you can't.
What if I use X, Y, or Z traits to get out of this situation?
Yeah, and it's like, you could, but you didn't.
Yeah.
Do you get that sort of feedback? Do you have people who are literally arguing with you about the decision trees?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it comes from a good place. It comes from people, like, emotionally reacting to our art and being like, I don't like that this happened. This is so sad. Can I make it good instead of bad? And it's like, no.
Or,
like,
well, there's AO3, you know, go help yourself, you know?
Right.
Right? A thing where you have all the traits.
I
you're
would say,
a Superman who comes into this town.
I would say at least once a week
problems.
I get some sort of request on some channel that I think it's really unfair that you can only pick 2 traits. You should let me have at least 3. It would be better for build diversity, which it just mathematically would not be better for build diversity. But, sure, no, we're not doing it. But, like, we get that one all the time. Something that I have found so interesting is, so if we look at the data for...
when this is done, when this whole game is done, please give us some sort of interactable dashboard of all this chunky data you're keeping, because I'm fascinated by all of it.
So looking at the first few, like, major decisions, like the episode 1 thing, we have in people's canon run, Duke dies in 67% of playthroughs, Gretchen dies in 17%, and then in 15% they have powerful builds.
Yeah, people like dogs.
In episode...
I feel that may change.
Jesus, in episode 2...
that was for... I feel that may change.
52% of people, Rosalina gets injured in a collapse.
More than half.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 6.6%, Becca and Alexis are buried in the mines. And for you guys have keen eye. For 41%, they had keen eye, and they just got out there. And then for episode 3, we have actually a much more healthier split of where is it?
By the way, I'm assuming this data is pulled from playthroughs directly. It's not survey-based data.
It
right?
is a survey data.
So it's not
interesting.
1000% accurate. It's the best we can do.
Yeah. And because this is also specifically looking for what people consider to be their canonical run.
Oh,
the run that they care about the most.
So you're adjusting for the fact that somebody may play 4 times through, but, you know, in the one that is most impactful for them, these are the decisions and the consequences of
right.
That they
and
made.
for a lot of people, the canonical run will just be the first playthrough, and I care about that way more than I care about over the course of however many times someone has played through, what does it average out to?
I want their knee-jerk reactions.
Exactly.
So
for the big decision in the Ghost Realm, we have 31% of people had Booksmart, 26% of people sacrificed part of themselves to help the ghost move on, 28.9% left the ghost there, and 13.5% tried to sacrifice and then were stopped by Tabitha, who can do it for them.
That's what I was trying for! It just didn't work!
It's a very hard check, but...
Yeah, I imagine it is, yeah.
The interesting thing is, like, if you factor out the Booksmart thing, and you fold the Tabitha sacrifice as the same thing as the player sacrifice, because she'll only do it if you try and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a 60-40 split, and yet... it's the major decision that people have been angriest about, usually arguing, well, there's only one obviously right answer. I can't believe the game would equate these two things. In both sides.
I have a theory about why that is. And I'm curious if it matches with yours, which is that people who play video games where you are the perspective, you are the protagonist's point of view, hate being disadvantaged as a result of a decision. So a character dying is not as bad to players as a character being disabled or losing an ability or losing an advantage. Because, oh no, here come the consequences of my actions that I'm gonna have to live with, and I don't just restart and do it again and get it perfect. That's my theories why people are the most angry about that particular one.
I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
You can't screw with people's OCs.
Yeah.
Yes.
You just did.
The other super interesting one, I don't know, did you guys had Tabitha with you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you had the whole thing where Sybil comes down, and then it's like, oh, you guys should really get rid of the ghost. Tabitha, you should do it.
Mm.
If Tabitha isn't there, she's essentially replaced by Wayne during that segment, who winds up being the one who rescues you, who insists that the correct thing to do is leave this thing here. Why would you negotiate with it? Why would you give in to these demands? And if you actually filter this data by was Tabitha present at the ghost hunt, i.e., was Sybil trying to convince you it is correct to sacrifice versus Wayne was trying to correct you that it's correct to leave, you get like more a 75-25 split for each decision. So really it's just
did somebody tell you what to do? Did somebody tell you this is the right thing to do?
Right.
It's very interesting. And I'm just like, why? And then they think that we are speaking through those characters.
Right.
That is the authorial voice.
Sybil saying it's Tabitha, it's correct for you to give in to the ghost's demands, is us, the authors, using Sybil as like a mouthpiece for a morality play, rather than Sybil is going down there with her own motivations.
Oh yeah, Sybil is way sus now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I have questions for the tea lady.
With his own motivations.
What? No, Wayne is our friend. He said so.
I know, but that's the other really interesting...
He has no face, but he has a big heart.
But that's the other interesting dynamic about it, too. Do you trust a character who is blatantly supernatural and whose motivations are unknown, versus do you trust or resist, as the case may be, the sweet old lady in town? You know, there are all sorts of deep level decisions that go into that.
Or number 3, do you trust your own rationale and logic and gut over what someone else is telling you?
Or have you played Supernatural and do you know that you must not leave ghosts behind ever?
Have you guys watched that League of Legends cartoon Netflix did?
Yes.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, so you know how Jason, that show, he's just a guy who goes around and the last person who talks to him, that's just the entire worldview and set of beliefs that he holds as an individual.
That's
I think that's just the majority of video game players.
Right. And I love that it's kind of, I don't know if you've intentionally done this, but I think that, I don't know, you can tell me if you've intentionally done this, but I love the fact that the consequence of you deciding I'm not going to do that you're going to provide options and impetus and motivation to make your own decision, or to just not listen to the last person who talked to you. I very much look forward to seeing how that's going to play off in the future, because I'm starting to develop theories. And 1, Sybil is sus. And 2, Wayne is also slightly sus. But I'm also very aware that everybody wants to smooch him, so that may be a whole other level of thing that I'm missing. So we'll get back to that.
Distracted, eh?
Yeah.
Thinking about Wayne, huh?
So many people are thinking about Wayne, right? Exactly. But it's interesting to me that you bring up Arcane as an example, because that's another property, another media that's done a really good job of showing how everybody can make a decision that makes sense for them in context and at the time for themselves. And yet still you have a gigantic pile of regret. And it's not that anybody intended any particular bad outcome to happen. It's just that people made the decisions that made the sense for them, but they weren't the decisions that lead to ultimate, the Paragon ending. It doesn't give us that sort of BioWare, I can kind of figure out which options I have to pick to get all the happy blue stars, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I feel very successful in this
Yeah.
one.
Good, you
I'm
should.
really happy with the spread. I'm happy with how angry some people got about it. I'm just like, wow, they really care. They care. So I was, as somebody who loves when horrible things happen to my characters, especially if it means I have some horrible physical malady now, I was just like, I don't know, are players going to really hate aging so much? And I was so mad.
See, I love the visual representation for it as well. The fact that your vision gets kind of clouded in and the color scheme kind of mutes. I'm like, I have a permanent effect. This is awesome. Yeah. Okay, so one of my introductions to horror was Deadlands, the role-playing game. And Deadlands has a very skewed set of powers in that you really don't start becoming effective or powerful until you die. So getting to the point in a game where you have some sort of physical permanent alteration to your character as a result of a decision, for me is like, all right, I'm getting somewhere. I'm making progress. Something's happened. There's been a change. I've had an impact and that decision has had an impact on me. I think I'm more primed to accept it because of that background, whereas so many other people are like, you ruined my paint job, you know.
The thing on top of that as well, about the end of 3 that I really, really love, is it feels like that is the moment where you basically turn to camera and go, yeah, this is a serial. Because there is so much ambiguity at the end of 3 in so many ways. You don't know literally how long you have to live. You don't know whether the effects are going to be permanent. You don't know whether several people will ever speak to you again. You don't know whether what you've done is the right thing. And all of it leads to that incredible moment in the car when Tabitha is driving you home. And it speaks to my earlier point about the performance that's baked into the art and the writing, where she's twitchy and awkward and diffident and at the same time is kind of fizzing with that, well, it wasn't me kind of energy. And the way that you lace horror through every level of the game, both structurally and thematically, is just jaw-dropping. And I think the strength of feeling you're experiencing through the statistics and through the responses absolutely speaks to that. Because, especially with video gaming, there is an expectation, like you say, and honestly I think there is no nicest button is a strong contender for company motto.
Yeah.
It's really good. There's a strong belief that you can get that best possible outcome. And I love that you've got this small town horror story where there is no best possible outcome. There's just outcome.
Or even happened. There can be, or I mean, there could also be horror as sitcom. Nothing changes, which means, I mean, because you've done a very good job of conveying the status is not quo. This is not comfortable. We don't want it to stay here. And if you don't have an impact, if you have an active role in choosing to leave these things the way they are, you've still made an active, conscious decision, and that's going to have impact and consequences as well. I love also how, like, the chapter structure is like, how many days is it to the funeral? Because, you know, at the end of chapter 3, I think the wrap-up sequences your character's going to bed is talking about, there's just a few more days to the funeral, and you're like, okay, now I know what that means. There's going to be a bad thing, and a bad thing, and a bad thing, and then there's going to be a worse climactic at the funeral thing, and I don't know if I can make it that long.
The rest of the game is actually just a normal dating sim. Everything.
Yeah. Oh, great! Perfect! Fabulous! It's just
Get
biscuits.
Rid of the ghosts. That's it. That's what was haunting the town.
You solved the mystery. Everything's fine.
Everything's totally fine and not locked behind that door in the hospital. In the house that used to be a hospital.
Which was the other ambiguous thing.
Oh my God! We have to talk about the suspense. The suspense that you cause by just having a screen's worth of options which all said the same thing.
That was genius.
Stress was brilliant. And the fact that it is, I think, the only time I recall so far where you didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
You lost agency. It didn't matter which option you picked. You had to make that decision. And I'm really looking forward to finding out if that gets more explored and about... Look at her finger. She's like... Because it is so startling. when you are the protagonist of a video game, that's your superpower. You get to make the decisions, right? Having that taken away from you just once, is hideously impactful. And especially, it's very interesting in that the consequence of it at this particular time is very short-lived and very banal. It's just you get, discovered, and you don't actually get to do that. But wanting to explore now, why was this the way that it was? I can't forget it. I'm like, okay, when do I get to go back and try to open the door again? What's in there? What's happening?
It is so David Lynch. It's the two moments that truly exceptional horror always put me in mind of are that point in Mulholland Drive where the two characters go out behind the diner, and I've seen that movie twice and I still close my eyes through that scene. And the moment at the end of The Mist where the colossal creature just walks out of the mist in front of them. And just that sense of something horrible here.
Yeah. The near miss.
Is something that horror does so well. And those two moments in 3, the whole scene with Reese and his mom is profoundly uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
Thank you.
Oh.
It's also the most small town the game has got for me so far.
I think.
That I love how that scene in particular works because it's so emotionally true. There is obviously something awful happening. There appears to be something supernatural and awful happening. But there's also just this tiny family doing their level best to deal with trauma in a town that's 3 streets wide. And the way that those intersect is deeply unsettling and very moving. And just, it's the best type of cosmic horror where, unknowable forces are more known by everyone than everyone wants them to be,
Was there
people just kind of think to themselves, well, if we just don't talk about it,
yes,
then just leave it at the door. We don't talk about it.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
We can manage it as long as we just don't think about it too much.
There was, it's inevitably this is Twitter, so several grains of salt. But there was a tweet that went across my feed a couple of days ago from someone talking about how they were realizing there were just some events like that in their lives that they had decided not to talk about. Like they had a family member whose life was ended in critical care in their home. 2 days after this critical care was ended and they'd been buried and the equipment had been taken out, they were sitting in the lounge eating dinner with their mom, and they heard the equipment. Look up and get as far as the mom, and Mom, did you hear that? And their mom looks them dead in the eyes and goes, I can't hear anything. Can you?
Ooh.
And they just didn't talk about it. And that hits me where I live. That kind of stuff. And all the stuff with Reese in particular in 3 is very much that kind of horror.
I have so many questions.
Made of questions.
I am made of questions. And theories. And I think that's what I'm most excited about at this point, is that I know enough to know that any theory I'm going to come up with is probably not going to be all-inclusive, because there are too many different disparate weird things that I cannot yet connect, but that my mind tells me must all be connected, that I go full red string murder board. It's like, well, how does this connect to this? And how does this connect to this? And how does this connect to this?
That actually speaks to a question I wanted to ask as well, which is the scope and pacing of the game is fantastic, and it feels epic. And I mean, the fact that it is 2 David Foster Wallace novels wide very much confirms it is epic in size. Have there been any challenges with pacing that? Because each episode is a very complete and kind of uniform experience, but each episode builds, and across what you've got, how.
Well, like for example, the fact that chapter 3 is twice as long as one of the previous chapters, was that oh my gosh, I've just realized we've got to get a lot done in this particular chapter? Was that like an intentional choice, or was that the scope of it is building in such a way that length is one of the ways to counteract that?
It's a scope thing.
I think so, yeah. We have like a set number of scenes. We know how each chapter, like what we have to have in each chapter. And then, of course, as the complexity increases and kind of your interactions with characters become more complicated, then that also adds to the scope a bit. Like we have to make sure that you can talk to this person or that person. But we're also trying not to keep it trying not to make it boring.
Yeah.
Well, you're succeeding. It is not boring, definitely. I mean, you gave me an entire dog politics subplot.
Thank you.
We probably could have just stopped the game right there. I could have been like, okay, this is what I do now. I'm a dog campaign manager.
I'm a chief of staff for a dog.
But I think also both of us get so bored with repetition that we try not to put it in our own work. So if we're bored with something in the script, then we try to...
We just cut it.
We cut it, or we work around it. We try to figure out a different way to do whatever information had to be conveyed. So that helps a lot. However, it will simply keep being longer. I
think episodes 5 and 6 are going to be pretty succinct. Episode 4 is...
It's already the length of episode 3.
Oh my god.
And the script is like halfway done.
Yeah, maybe not even halfway.
Excellent.
I also think
a lot of that is variations. Like,
no, but I also think
fair.
for a single playthrough, it's going to be a lot longer too, because I could talk about structure a little bit without it being too much of a spoil. Like,
that's fine.
Like it would be, imagine something similar to playing episode 3 if you could get breakfast with everyone.
Yeah.
That's not a one-for-one thing, yeah. But there's some branching early on that is not mutually exclusive.
Yeah,
okay.
So you can actually go around and see a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Including, I just wrapped up, of course you can hang out with Oscar again. So
my God. Oscar is the problem character.
Why?
He's done
just logistically
because so much happens to him and his family.
Yeah, so his daughter either has lost a leg, got out of the mines with no problem, or got out of the mines, but 2 of her friends are buried in there.
Rosalina needs help. She has issues to deal with right now.
Yeah.
Somebody call a therapist.
And then on top of that, you've got the variations of Oscar either has or does not have a house right now.
Because of the ghost situation.
And then, if in the situations where Oscar does still have a house, there's the big variable of, why does Oscar still have a house? Is it because you gave up part of yourself, which is a hugely complicated guilt
like an entirely different.
Is it Tabitha did something that's entirely out of character for how the rest of the town perceives her? So that's a whole other take.
And is his landlord
just the normal happy? I argued with the ghost. We reached an understanding, and he moved on, and that's that.
Yeah.
So it's like, and because those world states are multiplicative, and thankfully we don't have any other characters that are like winding up in the Oscar bucket of oh my god. But because it's multiplicative, that's like this is 10 variations of this scene. That we have.
And I have to copy paste or just kind of rewrite all of them. So it's fun. It's a fun little puzzle.
It is.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that for all of these.
Are there particular tools that you use to help you wrangle the branching narratives, or do you just have like the mother of all Excel spreadsheets?
A lot of it is memory.
Yeah.
Oh my god! What? Seriously!
It helps that both of us remember things. So we have 2 brains to remember things with. So I could turn to Tony and be like, is this a thing? And Tony's like, yeah. So...
And that's also one of the things that's nice about early access, because occasionally there are things that we'll forget. And when you have thousands of people obsessively playing through your work many, many times, they catch those things for you. And then you can go in and you can make it right.
I cannot conceive of keeping this in your head.
Guess we're just cool and stuff.
Like we have documentation.
Gosh. Yeah, we have some. Like Tony, I think has a spreadsheet of like actual variables. No. Oh, never mind.
No. I've formatted the script of the game in such a way. Like I formatted the code so I can navigate it and figure out what the variables are from that navigation. So it's kind
that's
of
a
like
process.
a complicated spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Okay, but I grew up with the choose your own adventure novels, right? Where you like stick your finger in it and be like, okay, I can go this way. No, I don't like that one. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go this one.
Not paragraph 13.
The idea of having to remember those numbers is intimidating. And now we're talking about what has got to be hundreds of variables at this point is really impressive.
Well,
Thank you.
well, I know vaguely where those variables are defined, so I just click through to there and I look through the lists there.
The
So
chat
it's
is
more like-
losing its mind about being able to like reverse engineer your narrative choices from the code.
That is
That's-
jaw-dropping.
Brilliant.
Actual rocket science. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Several other people in the chat are like, can we eat your brains, please? We would like to have this superpower that you possess. This should be another choice you could have. Is eidetic memory one of the character traits?
Maybe we
It's
should ask the
kind of
creators of the
lumped
game.
into Booksmart.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Booksmart is good at brain.
There's a few like sort of esoteric facts that can be dropped in earlier episodes that we decided, the average person wouldn't remember that this was a fact, but Booksmart gets to keep it. Like when Janie shows up at the beginning of episode 3, Booksmart can remember it's Wednesday. Janie comes in on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
That's really smart.
That is absolutely a
That's
freaking superpower.
absolutely
I
a superpower.
I completely agree. I'm just like, I'm looking. This is where I am. This is my branching narrative. I'm like, I've got 18,000 different things I could still talk about. And I'm like catching up on which one it is I want to talk about next. So, go.
I'm really glad you brought up Janie, because Janie and her husband, the man who I think of as Pastor Doomface, are instantly two of my favourite characters, because they embody...
Really?
Yes.
The pastor?
Yes, because they embody that ambiguity. I love that he's a little off, and he's not off in a caricature-y way. It's just... It speaks very clearly to this is a guy who's been raised a certain way and he thinks it's fine, and it's not, and he knows it's not, and he's trying, man. He's in there swinging, and every time you see him open his mouth, you can see him going, oh God.
See,
It's getting
we
worse.
didn't pay enough attention to the fact, or we didn't do the dialogue exploration correctly to canonically have it confirmed to our character that Pastor Rump speaks to animals. Because I think that really would have made a much bigger impression on us than he has creepy small town youth pastor vibes, and I'm like, no. Yes. And if
that really came together when Brandon sent us the music. Brandon Boone, our brilliant composer, like playing the music with the way that he looked, kind of with the like nervous posture.
Not really ever maintaining eye contact.
right,
always
exactly.
smiling.
Yeah, always smiling, unless there's some instance where he frowns. I think it's when you say you talk to animals,
Yeah,
right?
it's
'cause
when
then he
you
gets serious.
reveal you talk to animals, the smile fades and he eyes you with intensity.
Yeah.
And yet there are some people who just see him and are like,
That's
"You
a nice
romance
man."
option?
Yeah,
I
some
want
people.
to kiss the
Of
pastor."
course. Well, I think you would struggle to identify a single individual in this game that people wouldn't look at and go, could I though?
I'm so flattered. that
Very
people
unfortunately for some of them.
enjoy that. Mostly all of the comments.
All of the cousin lovers.
All of the people who sent us emails who were like, it's technically legal, so it's okay.
Oh, come
Oh,
on.
I love receiving
I
those
love-
emails.
I
we
love that you love
we
Tabitha.
love to joke about getting those emails, but I think it's the funniest thing in the world.
And it just speaks to how much you like her, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. Because it's not like she's like your physical cousin as a person.
When
It's
we
alright.
did our April Fool's patch notes, there were a couple people on Steam who specifically got mad at us for teasing a Tabitha romance, even though when they realized after the fact that it was an April Fool.
I'm so
Oh,
sorry
wow.
we April fooled you.
And
We thought the Comic Sans would give it away.
the pink font.
And the pink font.
Yes, exactly.
And Ditchy
But
the
they were too
Ditchling.
excited. They couldn't even see the words. They were like, romance option. I'm in.
Yes, exactly. did you find Brendan to work with? Because
I met him through the No Sleep podcast.
Yeah.
I did some illustration for them, and Brandon had me do a cover for an album of his, and I really enjoy his work. And we already had a professional relationship, so I was like, "This is nuts," but we've never made a video game before. Do you want to do music for one? And he was like, "Absolutely."
Yeah, he's been wanting to get into video games for years.
Yeah.
So.
And he is so fast, and he is so good at what he does.
So
we'll send him the worst descriptions you can imagine.
Clearly the best description.
He definitely turns it around.
Odds are, in the time it's taken for us to have this conversation, he will have released several more albums as well.
I went to his SoundCloud once. Or
yeah, exactly.
He has 5,000 tracks.
There's a lot on his SoundCloud page, for sure.
See, I'm just looking at the chat, and there are so many things coming up which are reminding me.
Everybody's like,
please,
okay, can we wife a ditchling?
Please,
how about Big Betty? How about a mountain lion? What about Birth of the Pumpkin?
I am giddy at the thought of a pumpkin smuggling subplot.
Oh, it's like cow tipping, but
I love Bo. Bo is so
sweet.
sweet.
Running into him at the general store broke my freaking heart. That was so sweet. But it's such a small town experience, isn't it? You can't get away from the people who are impacted by these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so satisfying. I love watching playthroughs for a few particular scenes. Of course, when the Ghost Realm hits. But I think the first one that comes up, Dustin's mom. But the first one besides that is when Bo shows up, because of course for most players they have killed Duke.
Obvious decision, episode 1. 17-year-old pug more valuable than man with a child.
Yeah, man with a family. Oh man.
And then there were some folks in episode 2 being like, well, Gretchen was the obvious right choice. Duke doesn't even show up in this episode. Of course they telltaled and gave us the unimportant character to kill, and then this happened.
His gigantic, sweet, wonderful son.
Seeing people's hearts sink through their eyes.
I love the suffering.
And of course there is
oh my god! We have to get Abby and Naomi together and watch the world burn! Oh no! Oh no! The two of you have exquisite vibes and love suffering, and I'm terrified. I'm talking about Naomi. What's the name of his last name? Clark?
Yes.
The writer of The Secret of St. Kilda podcast, and I'm just thinking about the two of you collaborating on some sort of horrific, heartbreaking nightmare. Now, there we go.
Who dropped the actual rock and roll power move of when the season finale hit, knowing there were three.
We're about to give a spoiler for the season 1 of St. Kilda.
Knowing there are 3 awful things that happened in the last 10 minutes. Well, I'm not going to attend the listen party because I'm moving house today. Bye. Let me know how it turns out.
Very power move. People in the chat want to know, what notes did you give Brendan for the music?
Some of them are great.
Let me open my email.
I remember one of them. For Sybil, it was, what if Gandalf
was into weed and yoga.
Yeah. And Camera, he pulled out kind of a labyrinthy track, which I think that's a pretty decent vibe. I love it. I love that track. It's so good.
We have the soundtracks for the first 2 chapters, right?
We do, and Bandcamp Friday is in 48 hours. So
excellent.
Yes.
Bandcamp Friday.
Yay, Bandcamp Friday.
Chat's
is Gandalf not into
before I took over? Let me find.
There's some tracks, yeah. So
because I've gotten excellent at
for Oscars. I think your description was it smells like coffee. Make it smell like coffee. So stuff like that.
Nice. People were asking, were they bad as sound of everything going wrong, or it's all a bit too much?
The Ghost Realm stuff was fun. It was quite something. Getting those was so cool.
Yeah.
The music
the Stella one, the really sad one. I listen to that all the time. And the guitar one, Dan Zappulla on guitar, incredible, fabulous.
I like
in
that
for the Tabitha scene.
Yeah.
That one, that's like closing credits music. We're keeping that one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Nice. Nice.
Whilst I remember, by the way, the visceral, skin-crawling horror at the puppeteer taking his curtain call at the end of 3.
Oh my
is
god!
something I will cherish for the rest of my life.
That terrified me, and then it made me very angry.
That was astonishing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was just so arrogant, wasn't it? It was such a ta-da kind of moment. And it was like, I'm scared, and when I'm done being scared, I'm gonna hit you. That was very much the reaction that I had. It was beautiful, exquisite vibes. No notes. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. We've been talking
super jazz for episode 4.
Yeah.
Really? There's more
Yeah.
things that are going to terrify me that I then get to punch?
Yes.
I hope so.
I think episode 3 is going to be scarier than episode 4. Episode 4 is juicy, though.
It's very juicy.
They're all so
Definitely a
different from each other. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
they're each a
definitely a
different
very different
subgenre of horror.
Yeah. Which was kind of the original idea we had for it, was kind of like
An anthology.
an anthology series where you decide to go on different dates with different people, and all of them end in a different horror story. So but then we combined all of them and made a through narrative that became the game. So
Well, obviously, when this is a gigantic critical and financial success and you need a spin-off project, it can be the dating sim horror
Yes.
genre experience.
I still do like that idea.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And in your doubtless copious spare time for your eidetic memory, right? It'll be perfect.
Oh yeah. We just decided to take on another side project. Like
Oh,
both
it's
of
gonna
us
be good,
usually
though.
has at least 1 or 2.
Mm.
I've got like 2 in the back wigs, and now Tony came up with one that's really, really good. So we're just like, well, dang, we got to do this one too.
Oh, good. It's not just us. That
Oh, thank
happens too. Oh, good.
The inability to not be working on something.
Okay, like I literally, this is my hack. I literally bought punch cards. Oh, I have to show it over here. These are little punch cards that you get for each time you say no to something. And if you fill out the punch card and you get all the no's.
Can you really say no to yourself, though?
Well, that's what see, if I do enough times, I get ice cream. That's what the card says. And I'm very motivated by ice cream. So this is my hack for doing those sorts of things. But
That's very smart.
But yeah, no, this is
you'll note it's not full.
this is exciting because the way we handle the writing process, we figure out all the story beats together, but then Abby's been doing the first draft of, the given next episode once the previous one's out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just had, downtime. So now
Tony has
I'm
something
doing
to do.
something.
Oh,
Which is
nice.
great.
And then keeps being like, you're done with work, right? Could you do concept art? It's like, okay, I don't want to work on my one thing, so I'll work on my other thing.
Right? See? It's just you're relaxing
By
very
working.
efficiently.
Yeah.
Shut up.
And I can only write so many hours in a day. I definitely burn out at like 7:30 or something.
Yeah. Writing's hard.
Writing
It
takes
is.
a lot of mental energy, as it turns out. Not
Yeah.
just sitting around.
No.
You're thinking and sitting around.
Thinking and sitting around. And you have to refill the tank as well. You have to consume a lot of creative stuff, I find, in order to be able to create a lot of stuff as well. Oh, people are saying, is there a kitty on the kitty tree behind you?
I'm sorry?
People were asking if a kitty had made an appearance.
Oh,
No?
my cat has not made an appearance.
Oh, okay.
Where is she? Should I get her?
We were
Get
hopeful.
her. It's her
No, no,
birthday.
no.
It's her birthday. She's 11 today.
Aww. So now we must pay the kitty tax. Exactly. So Spoons is now 11.
She's 11.
Oh,
Wow.
that's really sweet.
Did you find her, Abby? Oh, yeah. That's a me.
She does not want to be got.
That's fine, of course. But the
Alas.
chat is very enthusiastically saying happy birthday.
It's her birthday.
Yes.
I have to leave her alone.
Yes, that's what she wants.
Has
She just
important
wants
cat
to
stuff to go do.
Exactly. Listen, we've been talking for almost an hour and a half, and I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you both so much
This has been
for
incredible.
joining us. This has been
course,
it's a
thank you for having
fantastic
us.
game. We love chatting about it. Tell us what's coming up next for you, other than apparently Chapter 4 being gigantic, which I refuse to feel bad about.
So there's episode 4 where we feel pretty good about getting that out before the year's over.
Nice.
It would be super cool if we got it out in time for Halloween, but we're going to give ourselves wiggle room before we commit to a date.
Totally.
Smart.
Things always take longer than you think. And
Of
then
course.
I guess we do have
Unannounced side project.
unannounced side project,
Nice.
which
should
should
have-
also be out this year.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you want to drop any, like, content, format, genre, site, vague...
Another video game.
Yeah.
Oh, in your
was
spare
hoping
time.
you'd say that.
And to folks who might be concerned, this should not impact the rate at which we're able to do episode 4. I'm writing this one in parallel to Abby writing the script for 4.
Nice.
And the art requirements are
It's basically
significantly less than Scarlet Hollow.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
and it only cuts into the time that I would spend drawing fan art for myself in
Neopets.
the evenings. For
Yeah.
Neopets. I got
Abby
back
out here
into
drawing
Neopets.
Neopets fan art and dunking on all the 10-year-olds to get free rare paintbrushes from their
It's working.
competitions.
Finally. Me,
That's
a 30-year-old. I'm in the
That is a
contest.
brilliant hustle. I totally approve. That is amazing. That is fantastic. Okay, we have put your Twitter accounts into the chat throughout the evening, but for anybody who is still looking to find them, we just put them in the chat again, and they are conveniently displayed on the screen.
Indeed.
We are going to take a quick break to say goodnight to our guests. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go on a quick break, and we will be right back with some shenanigans. I mean, there's been plenty of humor here tonight, but, you know, who doesn't want to go to sleep after a laugh? So, thank you. We will be right back. both, Hawkeye. Do both. You can, in whichever order you want, you can watch ours and then go, oh, I'm not making that stupid mistake, and then play your own game.
Fucking cool are they? Oh my god.
They're amazing. That was such a good interview. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to see Spoons, but it's Spoon's birthday, and Spoons gets to do
what Spoons wants on their birthday.
And I totally respect that. That was so fun. I love getting a chance to talk to creative people, and not just about like, you know, like the common types of questions, but like, what are your motivations? How did you get into, how do they keep all that in their head? That really blows my mind that you could keep that complex of a narrative structure contemporaneous in your brain. I would be terrified. I would fall asleep and forget a side character. Totally.
I have.
Oh, chapter 4 is going to be big, gigantic, and lots of conversations that I'm very excited
to include it, as well as the other thing.
I need to know what other thing is.
Talking to them about that also reminded me of the existence of Boyfriend Dungeon.
Yes, I remember that. The Dunge. I played the Dunge.
And the distinct possibility that the DLC with Hot Axe Bro will shortly be appearing.
Axe Surfer Bro?
Yes.
Might need to play the Dunge again. There we go. Cool. Hi, everybody.
Hey, folks. How you doing?
Wendy, it's okay that you've missed the last couple of VODs. A lot has happened. Bring emotional support squishy things. And maybe things that you could hide behind. Because
a lot happens.
A lot happens. And a lot of it has to do with expectations that have been set for you in the game that are being played with. And specifically, like, being able to maybe, like, hide might be a useful ability. I did that.
Or possibly watch it during the day when it can't get you.
Yes.
So I can actually pull a very nerdy example from the experience of one of my favourite actors, Mark Shepard. There will be no spoilers.
The Doggy Mayor.
Yes, the Doggy Mayor. There will be no spoilers in this for a 15-year-old show, because I'm a giver. He appears twice in the later 2 seasons of Battlestar Galactica as a lawyer, brilliantly, an Irish lawyer, and there's about half a season between his appearances, and I remember seeing a con interview with him, and someone said, "So what was it like coming back to Galactica?" It was so weird, because when I was there in season 3, everyone was really happy and bouncy, and I came back, and the entire mood on the set was kind of funereal. And he'd come back after an episode where a very bad thing happens to a character. And he said, I had no idea. So I did the thing everyone did on Galactica. I went to see the Admiral. And apparently Edward James Olmos would work in his office on set. And so people would just go see the Admiral if they wanted to talk to him or wanted some advice. And he came in and Olmos stands up and goes, Mark, it's good to have you back. Shakes his hand. They chat for a minute and Shepard goes, Sir, I have to ask, what happened?
Did he say sir?
I believe he did.
Of course he did.
What happened between this appearance and my last one? And almost knew he was coming. I just handed him a stack of DVDs of the episodes between the two with, you're going to want to watch these.
But Ducky has conveniently provided me with a link to all of the Scarlet Hollow VODs.
Is that my fellow Rogue Maker cast member Bonnie in the chat?
I do believe it.
Hello, Bonnie. How are you?
So we haven't done the shenanigans yet, but should we talk about where you can find us this week? Because, my friends, we have a list. You may proceed.
The very first episode of Rogue Maker, the frankly, staggeringly fun science fiction action conspiracy disaster show that Bonnie and I are part of the cast of, went live this very day.
Episode 1 is available, yes.
Loved working on this show.
I haven't listened to the produced version yet.
It is so fucking cool. And I'm really, really looking forward to you folks hearing it.
Where else are you this week?
I believe since the last time we did this, I started at Caring Into the Void. Caring Into the Void is a fantastic 2-person discussion show. I am the stand-in host. I'm only there for about 6 months, but the format's really lovely. It's basically the two hosts find a really gross, weird, interesting story, tell it to the other host who's not heard it before, and then we find something positive from it. It is...
Gee, I can't imagine why Alasdair would have been recruited for such a podcast.
It is an extremely kind and nurturing show that features frequent viscera.
Yes. Bonnie, if you want to throw the link to the fan Discord in the chat, please do, for Roguemaker. Apparently, Bonnie just came from the live list.
Oh, dude, nice. Awesome.
Well, we can't have been there. We were streaming, but if I'd known, I would have. Pooh. Oh, well. Thank you very much, Zalia, for putting the Carrying Into the Void chat. So, yes, also, you were on the episode of Enthusiasm this week.
Yes, which I believe was the Star Wars one.
Well, what is today?
Today is May the 4th.
Thank you.
It's a really, really good episode. The entire cast are very, very good. But I would especially recommend coming for Sasha's delightfully eloquent and very salty Star Wars opinions. Sasha and I have a very fun kind of mismatched cop duo thing going on with this, where I'm like...
And also with you, Bonnie.
Right?
Today's when you can check how many of your geek friends were raised Catholic.
Hello.
Hi.
Or perhaps...
Okay.
So yes, my most recent episode of Carrying Into the Void is out. The first episode of Roguemaker is out.
Yes.
My first 2 episodes of Carrying Into the Void are out. So's my enthusiasm. Where are you?
I read a story for you over on Cast of Wonders
Yes.
this week. It's very sweet and lovely, and it is the winner of the Made the Editor Cry award so far.
Which is
this year.
genuinely a thing we
but
have.
in a happy, uplifting, and hopeful sort of way. So if you need something to push you over into a cathartic good cry, or a stress leak, as I call it,
This is you on.
the latest episode of Cast of Wonders has got it for you. And then tomorrow, I am going to be on Mer Lafferty's I Should Be Writing, talking about copyright and various IP issues that writers run into. So that's going to be a good conversation. What?
Absolutely. I was just going to say, I think I'm on Monday. After you.
Are you on Ditch Diggers?
I'm on Ditch Diggers after the Ditch Diggers after you. So.
Yeah, exactly. We are going to be kind of all over the place. The Where Are You This Week section of the full
It's just all.
is chunk. It is robust by all means. Right. Do you want to read a shenanigan? Because
Yes.
who couldn't use just a little bit more of a fun thing? Here we go.
For some context for you,
Oh, yes.
This comes to us from our dear, dear friend Matt Wallace, who is a fiercely talented author, a just wonderful human being, and also magnificently dangerous.
Yes.
From time to time.
He's given me knife fighting lessons.
Yes.
Matt is a former pro wrestler.
And also a former instructor who was brought in to teach soldiers how to knife fight.
Yes.
Stop and think about that for a moment. Yeah. Also,
And you went to his wedding in a kilt.
Yes. He's also 2 inches taller than me. He is a large human in the best way.
I'm glad you were at the Roguemaker listening party, Corvid. Thank you very much for coming over and saying hello. We would have gone to the Roguemaker listening party, but we were streaming.
Corvid, welcome. And congratulations. In fact, I'm going to high-five both of
Yes,
you.
much high five to the Roguemaker crew. And now you're going to read Mr. Wallace having an opinion about the MCU.
My low-stakes MCU criticism is Hunka Hulka Burning Fudge is a terrible pun. It's a play on an Elvis song with a totally unrelated Hulk reference jammed in sideways. Is the burning supposed to be the Hulk's anger? Is that the flawed premise here? Thematically confused garbage, man. Stark raving...
The man was improvised, but very Wallace.
Stark raving hazelnut is a disconnected trash pun too. Is the nut supposed to substitute for mad? Like crazy? You'll strain yourself reaching like that, bro. Stark raving mint would have made more sense.
Agreed.
And wouldn't be ableist on top of being terribly crafted wordplay.
That's Matt in a nutshell.
Look, all I'm saying is the MCU has an ice cream parody problem and none of you want to talk about it, and your cowardice disgusts me, frankly. And honestly, if you're going to come at me with, oh, they're intentionally bad puns because they're serving up how awful Ben & Jerry's flavor names are, you can go right to hell, because Ben & Jerry's wordplay is unfailing in its tightly constructed lyrical cohesion. How dare you? When I think of the dedicated authors of such classics as Chunky Monkey and Gimme S'more buying a ticket to Infinity War, filled with excitement and hope, only to have to sit through that farce of a scene mocking their craft, it makes me sick. Sick. Ben and Jerry deserved better. Ice cream marketing professionals the world over deserved better. Marvel fans deserved better. The character of the Hulk deserved better. Tony Stark was also involved. Benedict Wong, one of our greatest living thespians and a gift to the cinematic world, had to say that pun. Benedict Cumberbatch, who was also there, had to say that pun on camera in a film. It is unconscionable.
Bless you, Matt.
And scene.
Bless you, Matt, for stepping into this quagmire of undiscussed nightmare.
The Benedict Cumberbatch, who was also there, is the one that kills me every time. It's like, I forget who it was, but someone once described Jason Statham as the biggest movie star in his whole entire living room.
Yes, exactly. Benedict Wong is the superior Marvel
King
Benedict.
of Benedict. Someone learned how to pull their punches, Eugene.
Yeah, we should probably get some rest. Or, I love him in Shang-Chi so much. He's rapidly becoming one of my favorite characters. I adore Wong.
God,
so
I hope
much.
they don't kill him in Jeff Winger's Sorcerer Supreme 2.
Freaking better not, or I'm going to be very, very, very unhappy. Exactly. I haven't seen whatever MCU this is talking about, but I agree completely. Good, Corvin. You should.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a travesty of ice cream marketing. Potential squandered. And Matt Wallace is the biting commentary that I'm running out of steam here.
He is the beating, thoroughly enraged, yet somehow weirdly laconic heart of us all.
Laconic rage. Yeah.
That's Wallace. Fucking right on.
Fair.
He's also the author of 2 deeply fantastic middle grade novels. Bump, about a young girl training to be a professional wrestler.
See, if you told me this, I would have brought the books in, but I don't have them to hold up on screen.
That's all right.
Okay, fine.
And the Supervillain's Guide to Being a Fat Kid, which is somehow
Brilliant.
even sweeter and more endearing and more acutely observed than
and
what I
more
could suggest.
corporate in a small children starting businesses to take over the world, which I thoroughly approve of kind of way. It was fantastic.
Oh, Benedict Wong in... Thanks, Bonnie. Benedict Wong in Marco Polo is next level.
Yeah.
I have never forgotten the man owning the screen in Moon for 30 seconds, where the screen is this big and a monochrome black and green monitor. And just the fact that he does 30 seconds of, hello, it's fine, it's all fine, Sam, stay there. The technicians are coming for you. They definitely don't have guns. So good.
And that's, I think, our stream for this week.
That's pretty much
also
it.
My stomach growling. I should probably have some ice cream before I go to bed. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
It will not be named horribly after the Hulk, that's for sure.
It could be. It won't be.
Why would I want it to be?
I know.
That sounds like a bad idea. Right, so what's coming up for us this week? We've already told you what we've already done. Stream-wise, what's coming up for us this week?
We are returning to Outer Wilds this Sunday, and I believe you get to play on the gas giant that's actually a water world.
I'm very excited about a new planet that doesn't have frustrating crush me puzzles. Hopefully it will not be crushed. There's water. I'm looking forward to exploring it. There seems to be a giant monster, too. I'm sure that won't go poorly. So, yeah, that'll be on Sunday, 10:30 UK time.
Prior to that, the full lid, our Hugo-nominated
Woohoo!
pop culture newsletter, will go live this Friday.
Yes.
Currently, the issue features a look at Zin E. Rockland's superb Flowers for the Sea, which is a fantastic novella, and Wired Up Wrong by Rachel Smith, which is one of my favourite graphic novels from one of my favourite graphic novelists.
And you and I are currently kind of wrestling about what we want to be the play out, because we've had some very excellent candidates this week.
The Strange New Worlds opening credits are a strong contender.
Because, speaking of needing a nice, helpful, chthonic cry, just go watch Pike look at the Enterprise on a beauty pass, and I dare you not to tear up.
Brilliantly, earlier today, someone posted a photo of Obi-Wan Kenobi from the new trailer for that, and a photo of Pike, I think, looking at the Enterprise with, remember, it's Space Daddy Week.
Yes, very much so. It is, in fact, Space Daddy Week. God, that feels dirty to say. Let's move on. And then we will be back here next week where...
We got lots of options. We're figuring stuff out.
We haven't quite figured out what we're going to do.
I'm quite excited by the fact that Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator is for sale right now.
I'm sorry, what?
I see Yeah, allow me to explain.
No, still long as some Buttercup is
one-
Mary Humperdinck. A little less than half an hour. I can quote the entire movie.
She can and has.
The entire movie.
One of my favourite video game designers is a guy called Xavier Nelson Jr. And
He did
an airport built by aliens, presently run by dogs.
Presently run by dogs, yes.
Which is also a stream contender at some point.
Fair.
His most recent game is Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator.
That sounds fabulous.
The idea being you are a space warlord, so you kill a lot of people. So obviously you have, let's call it meat. You have
surplus viscera.
Yes, you have surplus viscera. So you got to trade it. And so the game is about that. It's just been released for the Switch. There is a physical edition coming later this year with an adorable dog sticker, which I'm sure isn't terrifying in any way, shape, or form. And they've confirmed crossover content with Among Us.
Ooh, very compelling.
There's a lot of dead astronauts in Among Us. Meat's got to go somewhere. Otherwise it would be awfully wasteful.
Jamfall. No, we will not be reading Jamfall. Corvin, we have read it for ourselves. We will not be streaming it, however. And then, so playing a game was one option.
Yeah.
We've been investigating some more fiction, but nothing has quite claimed
There's
us
a really
yet.
strong contender, which I think legally we can't talk about, which hasn't quite been shut down yet, but has just been bought by a much larger publishing company.
Yes.
So,
But, hope springs eternal. If in the future things change, you will have some delightful content.
Bless
and
you,
unfortunately,
Compost,
Ursula's writing more horror novels, which we can't stream. So
bless you, Compost, for noticing and reacting, because everyone else just noticed and tried to forget I'd said that.
What, awfully?
Yes.
You're welcome.
Just remember, one egg, it's enough.
Give me your hand. Okay.
Nothing.
You never regret anything. It's not Matt compatible. It's so sad. I'm sorry, Reef Shark. I'm very, very sorry.
We are also looking at public domain horror.
We're also looking for some more public domain horror, but
I'm not sure the weather speaks to it.
yeah, I mean, we are kind of moving into summer. Maybe we can find something deserty.
Ooh.
Or beachy. I don't know. We'll have to do a little bit more.
Exciting live reading of Fury Road.
I was thinking more like Lawrence of Arabia style stuff.
That could work.
I'll have to give it. There's a website that will email.
Yes!
Yes. Reef Shark, thank you for pointing this out. It was in the full lid last week. There's a newsletter you can sign up for that will help you read Dracula in real time, because the whole book is
Epistolary.
Epistolary, i.e. it is all newspaper clippings, journal entries, and letters that take place over the course of between May and November. And so if you sign up for it, on the day that the articles or letters are written in the book, you receive that bit of content
And
from
in
the
fact, it
newsletter.
started yesterday.
I started yesterday.
Yes.
Did it? Oh, that's delightful. Lots of slasher movies take place in the summer. That's too.
As does Tremors.
Tomato Thief is a short story, if I remember correctly. And yes, I'm sure its rights are encumbered. We would have to get permission to use it.
Zolia, to be clear, when I was saying a dramatic reading of Fury Road, I was picturing Tonka trucks and vroom vroom noises. So, probably not practical.
Can you tell we're really upset that we didn't get in on the pre-order for the tall neck Lego set? It's not like he was stocking it every single day and then spontaneously it was sold out. We will continue to stock it.
It'll come back. Besides, the Muppet Lego will be delivered hopefully soon.
Exactly. So I know for a fact that some people need a pumpkin at midnight. So we're going to wrap this up. We've talked about where we're going to be next.
We've done a shenan.
We've done a shenan again. As though I need more Horizon Zero Dawn. Well, you, Zalia, of all people, perhaps.
Zalia, what else
do
is
not
going to
need
guard
them.
your Horizon Zero Dawn board game?
Just wait until we bought one of those fine art prints of the tall neck being converted into a habitat, and we've had it framed, and when it gets back from the framers, I will send you a picture. It's going to be gorgeous. It's beautiful. I can't wait to hang it in our living room. Is that everything?
I think that is.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us, folks. You've been amazing company. We've had wonderful guests. This has been a brilliant one.
Yeah, really fun
good.
interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the next couple of months, we'll be putting together a list of folks that we want to approach for the rest of the year for interview topics. So if you have any particular favorites or... I see why I think we should play some more indie games, because then we can interview their creators, and I love doing that.
I mean, Phoenix Wright is right there.
And I still haven't played Nina Aquila.
See, I think if we don't do that next, once She-Hulk hits, you are going to have that all-legal everything instinct, and then we will do
I have a new favorite YouTuber, okay? It's called Ask a Mortician, and I love her because her presentation style is this beautiful combination of, like, really good investigative journalism and humor and my age group sight gags. That's just like, I would like to be you when I grow up. I want to do Ask a Lawyer the way she does Ask a Mortician.
Bonnie, we haven't seen the true story behind Moby Dick yet, but the one about the vessel in New York, which is actually really upsetting in a lot of ways.
The one we watched.
But really good.
We watched one about a country singer who died in the...
Graham Parsons' hilariously incompetent open-air burial.
Yes, exactly.
And Devil's Hole. Nord.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm like, if I ever become independently wealthy and have no need for... I do not dream of labor. If I don't need to, like, engage in labor for filthy lucre anymore, I want to do Ask a Lawyer like she does Ask a Mortician.
Wendy, I think we've got the first two, and they're on the Kindle. I'm just saying.
Caitlin Dougherty's
That's Ask a Mortician.
Did you buy me her books?
Yes, I did.
You didn't tell me!
Yes, I did, but you were too busy reading the other book to really notice.
God damn it. I am... Yes, exactly. Oh, good. Excellent. I'm looking forward to reading... I found another one about some art historian, researcher, I don't know, who was commissioned to go and investigate books that claim to have been bound in human skin and to authenticate them. And I'm like, that sounds lovely.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Right. We've been trying to say goodbye. This is why it takes us 2 hours to leave a party. Because you're like, I just want to say goodbye to that person.
And that person.
And now it's been 2 hours, and that's my stomach growling, and it's almost midnight. So we should probably wrap this up before we have too much fun. And we'll see you on Sunday. Okay?
Thank you so much, folks. I've been Alasdair.
I've been Marguerite.
And this has been fun. We'll see you on Sunday.
Bye-bye.